Sanity Functions now support the full suite of GROQ syntax. This unlocks so many use cases because we can be more specific in when we want to trigger our functions and be able to pass in more relevant data. And we're going to see that by first going over a function that allows us to only trigger the function if certain fields have changed. Then we're going to build on that with a different function and not only trigger it based on certain fields changing, but also pass in the state of the document before it was changed and after, do some comparisons and make some decisions based on that. And at the end, I'm going to make an important note about testing these functions locally. All right, let's dive into our first function by looking at this studio where I have a post about cats. Now, it's important for me to only translate this document when my title and my body has changed. And so I'm going to do that right now and say, hello cats, publish this, and watch on the left as the Gatos version is going to go up to the top as the translation happens, and it's the most recently updated one. Great, so I updated my title and the translations ran. But now if I'm changing my publish date, I don't want this to run. So we're going to publish this. And now I would expect to see Hello Cats to stay at the top and not the Spanish version to go up because that one is not getting edited. And sure enough, it's not going to the top. Let's take a quick look at the function to see how this was possible. Let's look at the blueprint for the translate function. This determines the filter, so what are the conditions that it'll fire under? And notice that we have this delta changed any. So this says, let's compare the previous state of the document to the after the saved document, the before and after. And if the title or body has changed, then let's return true. And then this will run as long as the other filters are true. So changed any allows you to run the function if any of the fields you specify, one or more, have changed. And similarly, in the projection, we can pass in what was changed to. So here I have a changed body property, and I have delta changed any body. This will return true or false. Same thing with the title. So that way, if I want to conditionally only translate certain fields, maybe to keep API costs down or whatever the case might be, I can pass in exactly what was changed. So this is a part of what we call delta GROQ, being able to compare changes from the before and after state of the document. Speaking of which, let's move over to the second function where we're going to look at the before and after functions. And while there are many use cases for this specific use case is going to send a message to Slack when certain fields have changed. In this case, just a disclaimer field, so our legal team can be aware of any changes. Many other use cases though, like I said. So here we're using the delta changed any, that familiar function we just talked about, in looking for any changes to a field named disclaimer. So now in the projection, the data that we're sending to the function, we pass in this before property and call the before function. So this is going to represent the document before any changes were made. And then similarly, we have after. Now let's switch over to our code and I'll do a demo of this after. And we can see that we pull in the before state and after state here for the disclaimer field. I run a little diff check and I send a message to Slack. So let's test this out by switching back over to our studio. And this time I'm going to scroll down and now we have this disclaimer field. Let's say I go in here and I change this to something else. And now I'm going to publish it. I'm going to switch over to Slack and we're going to see a new message appear with the changes that I made. And here's my diff. So I'm using the before to show what it was before and the after of what it is now. In this case, now our legal team can keep an eye on when things are changed, but there's many more use cases. Maybe you want to compare before and after price, do some calculation and send an email out, whatever it might be. You now have the ability to look at the before state and after state in the function and even filter by that as well. Moving on to the last note about this. If you're testing these advanced GROQ functions locally, you're going to see an error like we're going to see right here. Failed parsing, evaluating GROQ rule, skipping invoke. This error might change to be more informative in the future, but just note that these advanced GROQ features are only available in the cloud right now. The way to fix that is just removing these locally to test some logic or testing on a staging environment or putting some condition on there so only you know how to access it. So just be cautious of testing this locally. If you see that error, that's the reason why. Now with the full suite of GROQ syntax, we can be much more granular in deciding how to trigger our functions and the data to pass in them and make decisions based off that. Well, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.